What's up, guys? So today's episode is a little bit different than usual. As you can see, we are not in the usual set. We're just at my house, and the reason is because this is the last episode of the podcast for the season.
Season 1.
So that's kind of unserious, but also serious at the same time. We're taking a break from the podcast for probably about a month in order to build a new set.
Yeah.
I'm moving out of the apartment,
and
we're just gonna set it up here in my guest house, and that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is that we had actually recorded this podcast already, and
Oh, we don't need to talk about this part.
I guess Jack is a fucking complete moron.
No. Zip it.
He lost the audio file. You lost it. You lost the audio file.
Well, no, because it's there. It's just the content is empty. Like the length and everything is recorded in GarageBand.
Bro,
yeah,
you're fucking
we
fired.
record audio in GarageBand.
On top of season 1 ending, you're fucking fired.
Season 2 is gonna have a new producer.
New producer.
And a new co-host. Kevin's gone too.
Kevin's still here. Actually,
Wait, I don't see him.
he's not.
I don't
here
fucking
right
see
now.
him. Where is he?
No, this is just a short episode because I didn't want to have Kevin come up to do a second episode 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And also because we found something out after we filmed the last podcast that was really like devastating as far as the podcast goes, because he was the biggest supporter of the podcast. Like, he supports me in everything that I do. I talk to him every single day, and it's been really hard to wrap my head around it. And I think I texted you on Friday. I was like, I haven't heard from Andrew in a couple days, right?
The day we filmed, Saturday or Sunday.
On Sunday, after we filmed the podcast, I texted Jack and I said, hey, I haven't seen Andrew around in like 4 days. I'm like so curious, like, what's up? Like, hopefully he's just having a good Labor Day weekend with family and stuff.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, yeah, that is weird. He didn't comment on the last podcast, which we post on Wednesdays. But that same Wednesday, like, I live streamed with Jack, my girlfriend Jack, and he was in the live stream until like 1 a.m. And then after the live stream he texted me that it was so worth staying up for, and like was on Twitter saying how fun of a stream it was. And then the next day I didn't hear from him. And then on Friday, I still hadn't heard from him, but I texted him, like, as I usually would. I was like asking for his advice on something that I wanted to start doing, and wanted to get his opinion on it. And he didn't respond to that text. And then like 5 or 6 hours later, I texted him. I was like, hey man, you've been kind of MIA for the past couple of days. Just want to make sure you're doing okay. No response. So I went to Twitter and I messaged a group chat that he was in with some of his friends and my friends, and I was like, hey guys, like, have you seen Andrew? Like, I haven't seen him in a couple days. And they were like, oh, he's probably just having like a fun weekend with his family for Labor Day weekend. But they were like, oh, but that's weird, he hasn't even like viewed my stories, and like, you know, all the things that he usually does, which is like, you know, he comments on people's stuff, he responds to people's things. This is now 2 days of like 2 days of nothing, and it sounds like that's not that unusual. Like, I can go 2 days without talking to Todd, you know, but it is, it's so weird. Like, he was someone who was a subscriber that became like a very close friend to me. Like, he talked me through so many different things. He'd give me critique, advice. He was always kind and supportive. Like, we were in a group chat on Instagram about the podcast where he would like talk to me and Jack about like how great he thought one segment of the podcast was, or like how we should do something differently on the next podcast. Like, he was always like there, and heard from him every single day. So it was so weird to not hear from him. On Sunday, I texted Jack after we left the podcast how it was weird that I hadn't heard from Andrew in 4 days. So Jack Googled his name and found an obituary for him, and where he lives. And we were like, no fucking way. That's no way. Like, he was with me on Wednesday, essentially, you know, he was in my stream. Then the next day I just didn't hear from him. And we were like, this has got to be like a different Andrew or something, but we clicked it, and it was him. And that night I had half a bottle of tequila, and cried multiple times. Like I was talking to Jack about it, because like he's been such a big part of my life for the past 2 years now, that like it sounds bad to say, but like one of my aunts died last year and I didn't cry because she was old, and you know, I was like, that's just a part of life. Like you get old and you die, but like he was literally there with me like the night before, and he died in his home the next day. And I like, I don't know his family. He's like, just, you know, like he has his own family on the internet that I don't know. It's probably very separate from his personal life.
Right.
So it's like an interesting situation to handle, but I just want to say shout out to Andrew. You were a very kind, generous, supportive person. We love you, and we're not actually ending the podcast. I know you'd be mad at us if we did.
He would be the most mad person if we did end the podcast, for sure.
He would always message me whenever we made a joke about ending the podcast and be like, you guys got to stop making those jokes, man. If you actually end this podcast, I'm going to be fucking pissed. Except he wouldn't say fuck. He was raised differently than that. He doesn't say bad words. Yeah. Except for the one time he said, I don't usually speak like this, but I'm fucking proud of you, dude.
Aww.
Yeah, so like the idea of this podcast episode was to start it off with the joke that we're ending the podcast. You know, rest in peace to our podcast. But it ended up now being a serious, just a short episode that we just wanted to say shout out to Andrew, and shout out to all you guys who support us. Like, even if I don't talk to you every day, like one of the things that I noticed after news that he passed came out was there was at least 100 people on my Twitter timeline talking about how kind he was to them all the time. Like he was not only to me, but to everybody. Like if they were saying that they're having a terrible day or something shitty happened, like he would be the person to reach out and say like, hey, I know you're going through a tough time, but keep your head up. Like you're amazing. You can get through this. Like he was constantly that person. And it made me feel bad that I wasn't more of the same kind of person to be able to be like checking up on him. But like he was going through whatever he was going through. I don't know what kind of health condition he had or if he even had one, but he passed on pretty early and out of nowhere. But he was always positive. You know, you wouldn't see him complaining about his life on the internet, and he would always be giving support to other people who were complaining about it on Twitter or wherever it was. So he was a great guy.
Yeah.
And we'll miss you, Andrew. And yeah, we'll see you guys back in a month for season 2. Anything else you want to say, Jack?
Love you, Andrew. Seriously, one of the most genuine, sweet, generous people as well.
Extremely generous.
Yeah, that sucks.
Dude, even like, you know, I didn't know this beforehand, so I'm going to say one more thing, but one of the girls in the group chat was like, this cannot be real. Like, can we go to the funeral? And we had just found out the funeral happened the day that we found out that he died.
Yeah.
And she was like, he donated to my classroom when I became a teacher, and she had just became a teacher. Like he was like, always all he wanted to do was help people and like make them feel good. So, you know, Andrew, if you're up there, we're going to keep this podcast going for you.
Now we really can't quit. We got to keep going for Andrew.
We got to make it better. So you can watch from up there or down there. I don't know what kind of person. I'm just kidding. But yeah, love you, Andrew. Love all you guys. Hug your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Love.
Love you.
Fuck you, man. He wouldn't want us to be lovey-dovey. He wants us to bicker.
Fuck you, bitch.
All right, but that's it. We'll see you guys in a month for season 2 of the NGMI podcast. And NGMI.
Ow.